Hello everyone, welcome to Marriage Story. Our channel is Marriage is Not the End. Today's story is about a woman named Jessica. She has been married for 10 years, and her husband is seen by outsiders as a maniac who dotes on his wife. He posts about his wife and children in his circle of friends every day, and often says, "Without my wife, I wouldn't be where I am today." Sound perfect? But this story begins with an impromptu trip. Are you ready? Let's get started. I will always remember that night. It's a shabby hotel in Las Vegas. The soundproofing is so bad that I can even hear the rhythm of the snoring next door. My best friend Megan and I were originally going to Miami Beach to bask in the sun, but our flight was delayed and we missed our connecting flight. Together, we decided to change our reservations and come to this luxurious place. It's a vacation anyway, where can I not lie down? At 2 o'clock in the morning, I was woken up by a sound. It's not an ordinary voice. It's the kind of voice that makes people blush and make their hearts beat. The woman's screams became louder and louder, regardless of how thin the walls of this shabby hotel were. The woman's voice was high-pitched and whining, with an exaggerated gasp, as if she was filming one of those movies that you can watch without spending money. I turned over and tried to put the pillow over my head, but the sound was so harsh that I lost all sleep. Then, I heard a man's voice. Very low, heavy and breathy. My heart suddenly skipped a beat. That voice is so familiar. So familiar that I could recognize it with my eyes closed. That's my husband, Tom's voice. But Tom clearly told me that he worked overtime at the company. He sent photos, and his secretary also sent photos. He also complained to me on the phone that I ran out to play alone, leaving him to take care of the children alone. He said, "Jessica, you just know how to play. No one helps my son with his homework." He said it so aggrieved and confident that I even coaxed him on the phone for a long time. I told myself that I had heard wrong. She must have missed him too much or been too tired and hallucinated. After all, this is Las Vegas and he is in New York, 3,000 kilometers away. How is that possible? But the voice came again. Much clearer. The man was laughing lowly, and then the woman let out a coy voice. "I hate it, please be gentle." I sat up and stared at the wall, my mind buzzing. Megan slept like a pig, stretched out on the bed, her mouth slightly open, snoring lightly. I shook her awake and said, "Listen, does the voice of the man next door sound like Tom?" She listened vaguely for a while, rolled her eyes and said, "Jessica, are you sick? Tom is in New York and you are in Las Vegas, separated by half of the United States. Can't you live without your husband? Go to sleep quickly and don't be nervous." She turned over and fell asleep again. I lay down and stared at the ceiling with my eyes open. The sound continued, and the woman's screams became more and more exaggerated, as if she was playing the heroine in a short movie, and she wanted to let the whole floor know what she was doing. As I listened, I couldn't suppress the fire in my heart. I got up, put on my coat, and walked to the next door. The door was a cheap wooden door, and the soundproofing was so poor that I could hear the woman breathing inside. I raised my hand and knocked 3 times. No one responded. I knocked again, harder. The sounds inside stopped. Then, I heard footsteps, the door opened a crack, and a woman poked half of her head out. She was very young, 23 or 4 years old at most, with long hair, heavy makeup, and a red silk nightgown. The straps of the nightgown were tied loosely, exposing a large part of her collarbone. The moment she saw me, she was stunned. That expression was very strange, not surprised or angry, but an unnatural feeling like I know you but I pretend not to know you. Her eyes stayed on my face for a second, then quickly moved away, and the corners of her mouth even curled up slightly. "What's the matter?" she asked, her voice lazily impatient to be disturbed. I said, "You guys are so loud that I can't sleep." She smiled, a smile that was superficial but not smiling, and said, "You can't control this kind of thing. My husband is like this, and it's useless for you to envy him." Then she slammed the door in my face. I stood at the door with a bang in my head. Not because of her bad attitude, but because of those words. "My husband is like this." She said husband. I turned around and walked back. Halfway through, I stopped. I took out my cell phone and called Tom. The phone rang 3 times and hung up. At the same time, a cell phone hang-up tone came from the next room. I stood in the hallway, chilled all over. I called again. Still hung up. Called again, still hung up. By the 5th time, the other party shut down his phone. I stood in the corridor, my hands shaking. The next room was quiet for a few seconds, and then I heard the woman ask, "Who's on the phone so late at night?" The man's voice sounded impatiently. "She, who else could it be? Didn't she go to Miami? Is she looking for you so late? Could something happen? Why don't you pick her up? Answer whatever you want, whether it's annoying or not." Go to sleep. As I listened to these words, my mind went blank. I walked back to the room and pulled Megan out of bed. I said, come on, follow me to the next door. She was confused, rubbed her eyes and said, what are you doing? Do you really want to quarrel with me? Stop it, it's so embarrassing. In the middle of the night, you knock on the door when someone is doing something, and you're good if they don't complain. I said, Tom's next door. She looked at me, stunned for a few seconds, and then said, are you crazy? I'm not crazy. I took her and knocked on the door again. This time I kicked the door down. When the woman opened the door and saw the two of us, the look on her face made me want to slap her just thinking about it. She folded her arms and leaned against the doorframe, looking at me like a clown. What's wrong? She asked, with a smile in her voice. I said, let Tom out. She raised her eyebrows and said, what did you say? Tom? My husband's name is not Tom. I said, stop pretending and let him come out. She smiled and said, are you sick? Running to find a man in the middle of the night? What does it have to do with me if your husband runs away? If you are lonely, go out and look for ducks. Don't knock on my door. There are many single men on this floor. Would you like to check them out? I pushed her away and rushed in. It was a suite, and the living room was in a mess. There were 2 wine glasses on the coffee table, a bottle of red wine had bottomed out, and a woman's skirt and a man's shirt were thrown on the sofa. I walked through the living room and opened the bedroom door. There was no one on the bed, the quilt was lifted, there were 2 glasses of water on the bedside table, and a man's cell phone was plugged in with a charging cable. The sheets were crumpled and a few used tissues were thrown on the floor. I turned around and looked at the woman. She stood at the door of the bedroom, arms crossed and a smile on her lips. That smile was not fearful or guilty, but proud and provocative. She even leaned against the door frame, assuming a more comfortable position, as if enjoying a good show. She said, did you find it? No. I told you, my husband's name is not Tom. My eyes scanned the room and finally landed on the wardrobe. It was a double-door wardrobe, with the off-white door tightly closed. She followed my gaze, and then she took a step aside. That step was so natural and casual. But I saw that she was making way for me. There was a flash of light in her eyes, which was anticipation and excitement. She wanted me to open that closet. I walked over and opened the cabinet door. Tom squatted inside, naked, holding a pillow in front of him. His clothes were held in his arms, his hair was messy, and his face was covered with sweat. The way he looked at me is something I will never forget in my life. Not shame, not regret, but a panic. Like a caught rat, there's only one thing on his mind. How did I get caught? Megan screamed from behind me, Tom. She took out her cell phone and started taking pictures of the closet, flashing. Only then did Tom react. He rushed out and slapped Megan's phone away. The phone fell to the ground and the screen shattered. He yelled at us, what are you shooting for? I looked at him, standing naked in front of me, with the woman's lipstick marks on his body, and a scratch on his shoulder, fresh and red. I raised my hand and slapped him. He didn't hide or speak. But the woman rushed up, stood in front of him, and shouted at me, why did you hit my husband? I said, your husband? He has a wife and children, don't you know? Her expression changed for a moment, but soon returned to her proud look. She even leaned closer to Tom and said, I know. But so what? He loves me. Tom suddenly grabbed her shoulders and slapped her hard. You bitch, he scolded. The woman covered her face, confused. I was confused too. I looked at Tom, he was breathing heavily, and his face was filled with anger, shame. I don't know what. But I suddenly understood something. He wasn't hitting her, he was trying to act in front of me. He wanted me to believe that he was just confused and that this woman had seduced him. He wanted me to see his regret, his anger, his being deceived. I didn't say anything, turned around and left. Megan picked up the phone with the broken screen and ran out after me. That night, we took a taxi directly to the airport and changed our tickets to the nearest flight to New York. In the terminal, I didn't say a word, and Megan didn't dare to speak, she just held my hand. I looked out the window at the dark tarmac, and there was only one thought in my mind, 10 years. When I got home, Tom knelt in front of me and burst into tears. He said, Jessica, I was wrong, I was really wrong. That woman was introduced by a friend and was not a serious person. I was just confused for a moment and was seduced by her. This is just this time for us, really this time. I thought you were going to Miami, so I made an appointment to meet in Las Vegas. Who knew you would change your schedule? I swear, I will never dare again. He crawled to me on his knees, hugged my legs, and said, we have been married for 10 years, and it is not easy to get to where we are today. My son is only 8 years old, and he needs a complete family. Jessica, give me one more chance, just once. I am willing to do anything and give you anything. He cried so hard that his face was filled with tears and his nose ran down. He looked so embarrassed. At this time, my cell phone rang. It was a video call from my son from his grandparents' house. Mom, are you back from Miami? Did you bring me something delicious? I looked at his innocent face and tears welled up all of a sudden. I said, take it, Mom will visit you tomorrow. After hanging up the phone, I looked at Tom kneeling on the ground and suddenly felt very tired. Megan asked me, you just let it go? If you forgive him easily, will he get worse in the future? For men, once there are countless times. I don't know. But I knew one thing, I couldn't just take advantage of him. I can't let these 10 years be written off like this. I found a lawyer and had Tom sign a marital property agreement. The house, car, and savings all belong to me, and the custody of my son also belongs to me. I want him to know that betrayal comes with a price. Tom signed. But he didn't agree to give me the company's shares. He said that he had to run the company without shares. He spoke so confidently, as if he really just had to run the company. He said, Jessica, the company is our hard work. You have not been in the company for 2 years, and you are not familiar with many businesses. With the shares in my hands, I can run it well and make money for my son. Don't worry. You won't miss a cent of the dividends. I thought about it and agreed. After all, the company really needed someone to take care of it, and I just wanted to be quiet for a while. The next few months were uneventful for us. Tom gets off work on time every day, eats with my son and me, and takes us out to play on weekends. He still posts our photos and WeChat moments and writes disgusting words. My wife is my whole world. The luckiest thing in my life is to marry you. Thank you to my wife for giving me a complete family. He acted so well. So good that sometimes I wonder if what happened in Las Vegas that night was a dream I had. Megan sometimes asks me, have you really forgiven him? I said, I don't know. I really don't know. Sometimes I look at Tom's face and think of the naked man squatting in the closet. That image is like a thorn in my heart and I can't pull it out. But I also have my weak moments. In the past 10 years, we have traveled so many roads, from having nothing to having a house, a car, and a company. We have a son, we have mutual friends, we have a life together. Divorce? Easier said than done. Until I hired a private investigator. I decided to check it out by chance. I was buying groceries in the supermarket that day and saw a woman whose back looked like the one who opened the door at the hotel that night. She was pushing a shopping cart, and there was a little boy sitting in the cart. She was talking to the child with her head down, smiling gently. I hid behind the shelves, my heart pounding. I didn't dare to come out until she pushed the cart away. I don't know if that's her, maybe it just looks like her. But once this idea arises, it can no longer be suppressed. I asked someone to introduce a private detective, gave him Tom's photo and basic information, and asked him to check it out. A month later, the information the detective gave me was much more exciting than I imagined. That woman's name is Lily, 23 years old. She works in a foreign trade company, and that company has only one employee, herself. Who is the legal person of the company? It's Tom's sister-in-law, Amy. Lily earns a monthly salary of $30,000, and pays 5 social insurances and 1 housing fund. She has been doing so for 3 years. 3 years. Tom said he only had 1 date with her. But in the photos the detective gave me, there were photos of them eating in restaurants, photos of them shopping in shopping malls, and photos of them entering hotel rooms together. The time span is 3 years. There are also transfer records. Tom's personal account transfers a fixed amount of money to Lily every month, ranging from a few thousand to tens of thousands. Over the past 3 years, that's nearly $3 million. My hands were shaking as I flipped through the information. 3 years. Tom and I were married for 10 years and he cheated on me for 3 years. In other words, our son has been raising this woman outside since he was 5 years old. I was just thinking about how to chat with Amy when Lily came to the door. She asked me to meet at a coffee shop. When I arrived, she was already sitting there with her legs crossed, a latte in her hand, and her nails painted bright red. When he saw me, the expression on his face was exactly the same as that night, provocative, proud, and like a clown. Tom and I have been together for 3 years. This was the first thing she said. I stirred the coffee and said nothing. She was stunned for a moment, probably not expecting me to be so calm. She said, "You know everything? Are you not angry? You can really bear it. No wonder you can be Mrs. Tom." If it were me, there would have been a big commotion a long time ago. I said, "Do you think it's glorious to be a junior for 3 years?" Her face changed for a moment, but she smiled again quickly and said, "Haven't you heard a sentence? The mistress is the one who is not loved. Tom loves me now. He told me that he has no feelings for you for a long time, and he just makes do for the sake of the child. He said that sooner or later, he will divorce you, and he will marry me when I am 2 years older. She came close to me and said, "Sister, I am 23 and you are 37. Tom has a successful career now. How many women miss him? Even if he doesn't follow me, he can't stay with a yellow-faced woman like you for a long time. Look at you, what are you wearing? What kind of bag are you carrying? Are you worthy of him?" She looked me up and down with contempt in her eyes. That day I wore an ordinary sweatshirt and carried a canvas bag. It was indeed not a famous brand. But when I started my business, I was wearing this outfit and landed a deal with the company's largest customer. "I advise you to leave as soon as possible," she said. "While you still have some good looks, you can remarry. If you wait a few years, who will want you as a 40-year-old aunt? Oh, by the way, if you can't find him, I can introduce you to him. I know a few divorced old men who are a good match for you." I threw the coffee in my hand at her face. She screamed as the hot coffee flowed down her face and dripped onto her white shirt, creating a brown stain. At this moment, the door of the coffee shop was pushed open and Tom rushed in. He ran to our table, hugged Lily, and wiped her face with his sleeve. While wiping, he looked back at me, his eyes full of anger and disgust. Lily covered her face and cried, crying so much that she felt aggrieved, and said, "Tom, don't blame sister-in-law, blame me. I am a shameless mistress, and sister-in-law should be angry. Woo-woo, my face hurts, will it disfigure? I have to go to the interview tomorrow." Tom looked at her, then at me, and said, "Jessica, why do you bother? I never thought about divorcing you, why don't you let her go? She is still so young, and this face is more important than her life. Why have you become so vicious? I don't even recognize you anymore." I looked at his face and suddenly felt that everything was so boring. This man was so poor that he couldn't even afford to eat 10 years ago. I used my own money to support him. When we got married, his family couldn't afford the betrothal gift, so it was the dowry given by my parents that allowed us to start our business. After the company got going, I quit and let him take the spotlight. Now he is wearing a custom-made suit and a famous watch, holding his young mistress in his arms and calling me vicious names. I said, "Tom, let's get a divorce." Tom was stunned. He looked at me and said nothing for a long time. Then he said, "I don't agree. I'll take Lily to the hospital first, and we'll talk about it when I get back." He helped Lily walk out, and when he reached the door, he turned back and said, "Wait for me here, I'll be back soon. I don't agree with divorce. Let's have a good talk. Is there anything we can't talk about?" Lily was held by him, and when she walked past me, she gave me the middle finger and winked. There were still tears on her face, but her eyes were full of smiles. I was sitting in the coffee shop and my phone rang. It's a video sent by my son. "Mom, there is a parent-child activity at school next Friday. Dad said he would come with you, is that true? Are you two together? The teacher said you can bring Mom and Dad to participate, but I haven't participated in the activity with you yet." I looked at his face and was speechless. He was still so happy and looking forward to it. He didn't know that his father had just left with another woman in his arms. He didn't know that his family was about to be separated. I said, "Baby, Mommy will tell you when the time comes, okay?" He said, "Okay. Mom, please remember to bring delicious food." I hung up the video and sat there, staring at the street outside the window in a daze. Before I left the coffee shop, Tom sent me a message. "Honey, there's something going on at the company. I'm going to the company first. We'll talk when we come back tonight, so don't think too much." I looked at this message and smiled. He asked me to wait for him. Then, another strange message came in. "Sister-in-law, I'm pregnant, and it belongs to your husband." Tom was so happy when he heard that I was pregnant, and insisted on staying in the hospital to arrange a full-body examination for me. He said that the child must be born, and he will be responsible to the end. The accompanying picture shows Tom sitting beside the hospital bed peeling an apple for her. The peel of the apple was crooked, but Tom's expression was focused and serious. I haven't seen that kind of expression on his face for a long time. When I looked at that photo, the tension in my heart seemed to be gone. I don't feel sad or angry, I just feel empty. There is nothing left. I called the lawyer directly and asked him to start the divorce process. Then I turned on my phone and started editing a circle of friends. No, not moments. It's Facebook, it's Instagram, it's everywhere where everyone can see it. In view of the 3-year extramarital affair between my husband Tom Wilson and his sister-in-law Amy Wilson's company employee Lily, I have entrusted a lawyer to file for divorce. Tom has admitted to cheating and signed a marital property agreement. All properties and deposits belong to me personally. I will re-enter the company. Attached is the evidence for everyone to know. I sent photos of Tom hiding in the closet, photos from the detective of them entering and exiting the hotel, transfer records, news from Lily that she was pregnant, and photos of Tom accompanying her in the hospital. After sending it, I threw the phone on the table. After a few seconds, the phone began to vibrate. Likes, comments, private messages, phone calls, one after another. Someone said, "Oh my God, is this true? Tom was showing off his wife and children yesterday." Someone said, "Delete it quickly. Don't let the family scandal be publicized. What good will it do to you if this kind of thing gets too big?" Someone said, "Jessica, are you crazy? You are ruining his reputation and your own reputation." Someone said, "Welcome back, boss. We are waiting for you." I didn't read it or reply. My son's call came in and I didn't answer it. My mother-in-law's call came in, but I didn't answer it. I didn't answer the calls from Tom's younger siblings. They started scolding me in my family group. The mother-in-law said, "You loser. Are you crazy? You let Tom's reputation be ruined and let Dong Dong think about his father. You let him behave in school." The brother-in-law said, "With my brother's status, what's wrong with occasionally making mistakes outside? What successful man doesn't have tidbits? How about you tell the world? You are so ignorant. Customers are asking me if it is true. You should delete it immediately." My sister-in-law said, "That's right, sister-in-law, why do you bother? What is there that a family can't talk about behind closed doors?" I looked at these messages and smiled. These people, when they go to school, use my money. Later, I joined the company and received my salary. Now, they all know about Lily's existence, but I am the only one who is kept in the dark. In their eyes, I was never family. In the evening, Tom's call finally came. He scolded me, "Jessica, you are sick. What good does it do you to make such a big deal? I didn't want to divorce you, but since you broke up with me, let's divorce. Now that you know she is pregnant, I won't talk nonsense to you. I don't love you anymore, I love her. I want to give them a home for their mother and son." I said, "Didn't you say that you had just one date with her?" He hung up the phone. The next days were like a war. I applied to the court for property preservation and froze all the assets in Tom's name. His capital chain was broken and the company was struggling. He came to me, blocked the door of my house, and said, "Are you crazy? This is our 10 years of hard work." I said, "I want to go back to the company, and if you don't agree, then I can only destroy it." He said, "You have left the company for 2 years, are you still able to operate? Do you understand the current market? Do you know where your customers are?" I said, "I have been away for 2 years, and the company's turnover has dropped below what it was 5 years ago. I don't think you have the ability to run it well. You can wait until the company goes bankrupt and reorganizes, and then we don't want anything." Tom's company was founded by him, me, and my partner Mike. Tom and I took 70%, and Mike took 30%. The client was developed by Mike and I. Tom is in charge of the internal affairs, the finances, and the worldly affairs. Mike came to me and said, "I will cooperate with you and take the customers away. His company will become an empty shell. Those customers recognize you, not me. If you say a word, they will all follow me. This is a good idea." I gave Tom 2 options, quit the company and take dividends every year, or wait for the company to go bankrupt. He chose the first one. He thought that the dividends would be enough for him to support his family. He thought that after the company had been in his hands for 2 years, those customers were already his. He thought that as long as he was around, the company would still be his. He didn't know that something even more cruel was to come. After the divorce, the first thing I did when I took over the company was to fire all of Tom's relatives. Those white-eyed wolves, with high salaries and kickbacks, embezzled nearly $3 million in 3 years. They were dissatisfied and held banners and made a fuss in front of the company. My mother-in-law took the lead in scolding me, saying that I was vicious and that Tom was kind and righteous. She left the house and left the company to me, but I was still not satisfied. She held up a big loudspeaker and shouted to the people coming and going, "Everyone, come and see. This vicious woman, my son gave her the company, and she wants to kill our whole family." More and more people were watching, and some people started pointing. Some people said, "You have to be merciful and spare them. Your husband is wrong for cheating, but he has been punished. Why do you need to kill them all?" Someone said, "Your husband is very generous and gives you everything. You treat your ex-husband's family like this, which makes you seem too petty. No wonder your husband cheated." Someone said, "Women, don't be too strong, just about the same." I listened to these words without speaking. When people were almost gathered around, I called in the legal affairs and finance. I threw out the evidence of their corruption. $3 million. Transfer records, contracts, and rebate details are clear and clear. Everyone was dumbfounded. I said, originally I just wanted to drive you away, and for Tom's sake, I won't pursue any further charges. But if you insist on making trouble, just tell the police. Job embezzlement starts in 10 years. 3 million is enough for you to stay here for a lifetime. The group of people who were so arrogant just now all withered. My mother-in-law's speaker fell to the ground and the battery fell out, causing a piercing scream. She looked at the evidence and turned pale. My brother-in-law stood in the crowd, his head lowered and did not dare to look at me. His sister-in-law hid behind him, not daring to say a word. I said, give you 1 day to resign and leave. If you are still in the company at this time tomorrow, I will call the police directly. That night, their resignation letters were all piled on my desk. I thought that was the end of it. But I underestimated Tom. He thought of a way to get back at me. He hid our son. After school that day, I went to pick up my son. The teacher said, Dong Dong was picked up by his father. He said you agreed. I called Tom and turned off the phone. Called his home phone number, no one answered. When he called his mother, she said, I don't know, don't ask me. I'm almost crazy with anxiety. I called the police. The police contacted him, and he answered the phone with a calm tone. This is my biological son, how could I hurt her? My ex-wife divorced me and was stimulated. Now everyone looks like a bad person. Don't believe what she said. Come on, Dong Dong, tell the police uncle that you are fine with Dad. My son's voice came from the phone. Mom, Dad, and I are on vacation. It's fun here, don't worry. The policemen looked at me suspiciously. They said, Ms. Wilson, this is your family matter, and we really can't interfere. The child is with his father and has not been harmed, so we have no reason to intervene. If you want to see your son, you'd better communicate with the father. When I walked out of the police station, it was raining heavily. Mike was standing next to the car holding an umbrella. When he saw me coming out, he strode over and held the umbrella above my head. His clothes were half wet, but he didn't say a word, just looked at me. I said, I'm dropping the charges. I have no other choice. I'm going to the police station to drop the charges against Tom's family. The evidence of their corruption is still in my hands. As long as I withdraw it, they will not go to jail. Tom promised me that if he revoked, he would return my son to me. Just when I was about to go to the police station, my son came running to me. He was carrying a school bag, soaked all over, and threw himself into my arms. Mom. I hugged him and burst into tears. He said, Dad took me on vacation, and I thought you agreed, so I went with him. Later, when you called the police, I knew you were looking for me. He lied to me and wanted to use me to hurt you. I sneaked back while he was sleeping. He said it was Mike who found him. Mike found out that Tom took him to a resort in the suburbs and drove there for 3 hours. Tom discovered that his son was missing and chased him out. The two had a fight in the parking lot. My son proudly said, Uncle Mike won. I held him and cried and laughed. Tom's family all went in. Sentences range from 3 to 7 years. My mother-in-law came to beg me and knelt down in front of my house crying. Tom called me evil and cursed me with retribution. I ignored him. Because the more ruthless ones are yet to come. Tom still has shares in the company and gets dividends every year. But I have the final say on how much the dividends will be. The first year, I gave him $50,000. He received the money and smashed the phone. He rushed to my company and yelled at me in the office, 50,000? Where are you feeding the dog? I have a wife and children to raise. What is 50,000 enough for? It's not even enough for rent. After his divorce, he registered a small company by himself and took on some small orders. I have all the big orders, and all he can do is drink some soup. But a small list is enough for him to support his family. The thing is, Lily is used to having a good life. You want the latest brand name bags, the most fashionable clothes, and the highest end food. Now that I have children, I want the best. Diapers must be imported, milk powder must be organic, and a stroller must cost $10,000. The little money Tom earned was not enough for her to spend. She cried and made fuss every day, saying that Tom should not leave home and leave the company to me, causing her to suffer with him at such a young age. She posted those weird words on social media. Some people look like dogs, but in fact they can't even afford wives and children. Tom was annoyed by her and yelled at her, why are you suffering? When Jessica and I were together, we lived in the basement and ate bread, and she didn't even complain about it. The apartment you live in now and the car you drive are all not my money? Lily cried and pushed him, then go. Find your ex-wife. Anyway, she is rich, so go and ask her to remarry. Tom thought that the dividend at the end of the year would be several million, which would be enough for them to spend. He had already overdrawn his credit card and was waiting for the dividends to be repaid. He also bought Lily the $10,000 stroller with a credit card. In the end, I only got 50,000 yuan. He wanted to check the accounts, so I asked him to check them. On paper, the company is losing money. That 50,000 yuan was given to him by me in a good mood. The company has invested in several new projects this year, and all of them are losing money. It is only natural that shareholders will not receive dividends. In fact, I opened another company and transferred all the business there. The legal person of that company is Mike, who has nothing to do with me. In another 2 years, his shares will be useless. He knows, but he can't do anything to me. Jessica, we are just a couple, you can't do this. The company is our blood and sweat. I said, well, that's it for me. What can you do to me? He was stunned there, speechless. I said, by the way, my lawyer has sorted out the money you spent on your mistress during the marriage. 3 million in 3 years. Just wait for the court summons. I want everything back that belongs to me, including the car she drove, the apartment she lived in, and the bags she bought. His legs softened and he sat on the ground. At this time, his cell phone rang. It was a message from Lily. Husband, I went to see that Chanel bag today. It's so beautiful. Send me the money quickly and I'll buy it tomorrow. Also, when will you pay for the decoration of the baby's room? The worker is urging me. I looked at Tom's face and smiled. He yelled into his mobile phone, buy whatever you want. Do you know that I am about to be killed by you? Later, Tom's small orders were no longer accepted. I pried away all his clients. He went to visit someone, and they said, Tom, you can even abandon your wife who is a loser, so we don't dare to cooperate with you. Your ex-wife said that as long as she refuses you, we will get an extra 2 points of profit. Sorry, business is business. He was ashamed and annoyed, but he couldn't help it. With the money Lily recovered, her house and car were sold. They moved out of their high-end apartments and rented houses in the suburbs. The $10,000 stroller was also taken away by the court. Lily thought Tom could make a comeback. After all, he used to be such a big company. But 2 years later, instead of getting up, Tom started delivering food and driving Uber. One day, Mike and I were on a business trip. We took a taxi to the airport and called Tom's car. I didn't recognize it at first. He was wearing a hat, his head lowered, his beard was unkempt, and he had lost weight. I was on the phone with a client in the car, and Mike was feeding me a sandwich next to me. Jessica, eat a couple of bites quickly, and get on the plane and take a nap later. You've been too tired these days. I ate my sandwich and said, what time is the Dong parent-teacher conference? Don't forget it again. On the 17th, I signed up. Let's go together. Mike said, taking my hand. Our fingers are intertwined. Then I saw Tom's eyes in the rearview mirror. He looked at us with envy, sadness, and regret in his eyes. I've never seen that look before. He always thought that he was superior to others and that he deserved better. Now he knows, he doesn't. Mike also saw him and said, hey, Tom, why don't you drive the car yourself? Drive well, otherwise I will give you a bad review after getting off the car. Whether it's a 5-star review or a negative review, it all depends on your performance. Tom didn't dare to speak, lowered his head and looked ahead. Along the way, no one spoke. When we got off the bus, he ran down to help us with our luggage. Mike took the box and pulled me towards the terminal. Jessica, he shouted from behind. I stopped and looked back. I'm sorry. He shouted, I'm sorry for you. I didn't say anything, turned around and left. I no longer need his apology. Later, I heard from my son that his father was not doing well. Grandma always came to him asking for money and wanted him to persuade me to remarry. His father had no money, so his grandmother scolded him for being worthless and scolding him for not getting divorced in the first place. I asked my son, what do you think? He looked at Mike in the distance and said, Mike's dad is fine. Mom is very happy. I hugged him and smiled. Later, I heard that Lily had run away. She went to another state and became a mistress again. Tom went looking for her and found her in the hotel closet. She said confidently, you are so poor, do you want me to stay poor with you for the rest of my life? My eldest brother gives me 50,000 yuan a month, but you can't make it in a year. Why should you block my way of making money? Tom asked her if she didn't want her son anymore. She said, don't you also not want your ex-wife's son? If you don't want it, why can't I? What does your son have to do with me? Tom suddenly discovered that there was a boomerang that he had shot out, and now it was hitting him back. He almost collapsed and came to me. He knelt in front of my house for a day and a night, saying that he was wrong, that he knew how much he had hurt me, and that he wanted to make up for it and asked me to forgive him. Mike stood at the door, looked at him and said, "Forgive me, what next? Do you want to be my wife's mistress?" "I won't agree." Tom was stunned. Mike said, "You don't know? Your ex-wife and I have been married a long time ago. We held a banquet in the Hamptons and invited more than 300 people. I didn't call you because you are not popular and no one wants to see you." Tom stumbled away. The next time I heard about him, it was that Lily was beaten up by someone's first wife on the street. Tom rushed over to save her, but was beaten as well. The first wife scolded him, "You're a useless man. You can't even look down on your own wife. Do you still have the nerve to save her?" Another boomerang. I was in the kitchen making breakfast for my son when I heard this. Mike hugged me from behind and kissed my hair. The son ran in and said, "Mom, are you and Mike's father coming to the parent-teacher meeting today?" I said, "Come on, everyone. The sun shines in through the window and shines on us." I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. The story is finished. If you are going through a difficult moment, I want to tell you, don't be afraid, it will pass. Those who cannot defeat you will eventually make you stronger. I'm your host and this is Marriage is Not the End. See you next time.